Okay, so you're teaching people Forex. What about Forex do you think where people can learn this skill? You told me it's a skill that you can use just like if you became a painter or something like that.
Sure. Well, what I mean by Forex being a skill, like being a plumber or HVAC technician, I just mean it's a trade. It's a skill set that once you have it, it's a knowledge base that you can go back to and create income from, you know. And so when I think of a plumber or an HVAC technician, not that you don't ever have to continually educate yourself and upgrade your education. And the same is true with Forex. Actually, it happens organically and actually very naturally, because the more you study the charts and you're studying what's happening in the markets, you create more questions, or you create more aha moments, and you have more discoveries. And so that takes you on another trail of learning. So you have a self-imposed or built-in level of continuing education. So when I think about that, as it relates to plumbers or educators or anybody, you know, an engineer, any type of skill set, it doesn't have to be a hands-on thing. But I speak about plumbers and HVAC specifically because a lot of people leave them out of quote unquote valued workspace. You know, they don't think about that as a valuable work skill because of the age of automation and digitization and AI and technology. And so when I speak about Forex being that type of tool, it's something that you can literally get hands-on, and it can pay you exceptionally well, just like those other skill sets can. And so people really need to alter their approach to it, specifically in this day and age where everything is automated, everything is at the push of a button, everything is relatively easy. Forex forces one to actually wrestle with information, wrestle with what's going on, and have to think differently. I think is the epitome of what people go to university for. You know, you go to university, in my opinion, at the very beginning, is to learn how to think. You know, and so Forex, if you do it correctly and you learn it correctly, it will strengthen your ability to reason.
What do you think the biggest block, and what have you seen as you've been teaching it? Because a lot of us are not financially sophisticated.
Sure.
What's one of the biggest blocks, or a couple of the biggest blocks that people have when they first get started?
Well, the first block is really the language barrier. You know, it's no different than anything else. You have to go in and you have to learn the language of the skill. So when I'm talking about candlesticks, or I'm talking about certain patterns or support and resistance levels, that doesn't mean anything. But if I said, when I talk about support, I mean, think of the floor. And if I say resistance, think of the ceiling. Then now you have an image in your head, and you can translate that into something that means something for you. And so the language barrier or the vocabulary is the first step. And people are very fearful about that. They think that they won't be able to grasp that. And then when you go and look at a chart and you see all these candlesticks of different colors and they're all over the place, it looks like you may be looking at somebody creating a music, you know, a song or a video or something. You know, it doesn't look like you're actually something that you can make money with. And so I think the first thing is the fear of the unknown and the new. And then the second is really a lack of trust for the process. I have a saying, or something that's come to me much more recently, that if you try to rush the process, you don't trust the process. You know, so I think rushing the process is one of the biggest failures that traders have, or people who are learning how to trade, is that they want to get to the money very quickly. And if you're doing that, you're not trusting the process that's taking you to the money. And so you're actually going to short circuit your journey immediately because of the way that you approached the skill set. It's like, you know, if I'm an electrician, you know, or an apprentice, you know, for an electrician or a journeyman or whatever, I don't get to go and install circuitry, you know, on day two. You know, I don't get to go out there into the field and wire a whole building. I have to learn that. You know, I have to be taught. I have to be advised. I have to be, you know, overseen at a certain point. And so very few people, although it's a very autonomous skill, you know, have a lot of autonomy with Forex, obviously. It's something that you still need to be guided on, and you still need to take your time and take, you know, action steps and have it a little bit more formalized than to just jump out there and do it. So I think vocabulary and understanding that is a barrier, or a mental barrier. And then the rushing of the process is another barrier. People are so quick to make money that they ultimately short circuit their success.
So you have a saying, you say go from believing to knowing.
Correct.
Like we come from a background where people say have faith.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But you go from having faith or believing to knowing. Tell me what you mean by that as it relates to Forex.
That's a great question. I was lying in bed the other night, and something came to me about faith. And I thought about the phrase where people say blind faith. And I immediately had a thought that said, no, faith is not blind. Actually, faith is seeing things very clearly, seeing it for what it is, and then continuing to walk it out, walk out that process. So faith is actually a process. Faith and action go together. And so you have to walk it out while believing that you're going to get what you receive. And so when I talk about going from believing to knowing, that's what I'm saying. You go from having faith or, the belief that this can work to gaining a process by which you can actually see it work. So you take your faith and then you put it in action and then you get the result.
And so tell me how it feels for that first time trader when they trust the process.
Sure.
They go from believing to knowing and they see a profit, or at least they see a successful trade.
Sure. And so I've had a number of students who've never touched a chart or are very new traders, and they followed our process with the course that we teach. And what happens is most of the times when they take their first 2 or 3 trades, they immediately hit profit. And so they become excited. And so now their knowing starts increasing as opposed to just their believing. And so they're working with the duality of the believing and the knowing happening to where now they're more excited about it. And so now 2 things happen. Either they go back into the lesson and they say, okay, now I'm going to pay a little bit more attention because I just received some type of positive reinforcement for this journey that I took in the way of profits in my account. And so now I'm going to really dig in, because if I was half doing it when I got it the first time, now I can go back and really focus in and make some real money. So I've seen that happen a lot, but it really does, the way that I teach the course and the way that I lay it out, it sets you up for success at your very first trade. If you do exactly what is taught, you will know if you know what you're doing or not.
I imagine it's just like when you get that first drive, if you play golf, and you get that first tee and you see the ball fly straight.
Yeah.
But now it seems like you open up so much more that you have to learn.
Yeah. You can definitely go on rabbit trails, and a lot of people, one of the dangers of, if you don't stick to the process, if you don't stick to very closely to what's being taught to you, you can run yourself on rabbit trails, and you try different things because you get excited. And so you build a false sense of confidence and a false sense of expertise that's really not there. And so what happens is you can chisel away at the knowing that you already have by creating other paths to get there. And so it's very important for a person to actually walk down the path, see success enough to where they know that process works, and then if they ever do veer off on another path, they say, okay, well that's not what I learned. That's just something I created for myself.
It's kind of like when you go camping.
Yeah.
And they tell you when you go off the trail.
Yeah. Anything can happen.
Yeah. You sit still because now we can find you.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, you're right. So if you get off track, if you just sit down, then we can find you. But if you're wandering around, we're chasing each other. Yeah. So I think that people can get confident and they can add things to it. I have a particular student from Jamaica who he was trading before we met. And so he took the Forex for Dads class, which is the first course that we rolled out, because I have a heart for dads as a father myself. And so I really wanted men to have access to the skill set so that they could fully support themselves and their family, replace work and second job income, and regain more time to enjoy what matters most, or actually to enjoy being a dad even. And so a lot of dads came to me, which was really good because we got to have a lot of different conversations. But this specific student, he owns a business, actually owns a trucking company, has a son, has a wife. And when I taught him the skill set, or when he went through the course, he saw success and he saw how simple it was. But later on, as recently as a week ago, we had a conversation and he was asking me about an indicator that I don't even mention in the course. And so what happens is your intellectual curiosity takes you to a place to where you start trying to complicate something that doesn't have to be complicated. And that's human nature, I think. But when you find yourself going on those paths, just bring it back to center. It's just like when the economy goes poorly, at some point you just have to reset everything. You know what I mean? I mean, sometimes the fire can be purification, it's not destruction, and so I think if people keep it simple and don't veer off that path, but it does happen, that they will always see success. And I think the challenge with Forex, in my opinion, is that you're successful when Forex has, and forgive the phrase, when Forex becomes boring. And I mean that in the sense of when it becomes just as easy or as automated as any other thing that you do in your life. When you learn how to drive a car, how exciting was it when you first learned how to drive a car? How exciting was it when you first could parallel park your car? How exciting was it when you could, go all these different places and have this new level of freedom? But then at a certain point, it becomes a burden. you know, and it's not a big deal anymore. And so you find other ways to become excited about driving.